Hi, I'm Adriana.
And I'm Jen, and we're two moms in the kitchen.
Come join us in the kitchen for some cooking,
some conversation,
and lots of laughing.
Hello, and welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be making quiche two ways.
The first quiche we're going to be making is a roasted vegetable quiche, and this is Jen's recipe. So we're going to be going through that. And then my recipe is for a crustless quiche with spinach and mushrooms, and I'm going to give you a couple of different variations of how you can change the quiche according to your own liking.
And that's the great thing about quiche, is that it is so versatile. Mm-hmm. It's basically your scrambled eggs, and then you can put in whatever type of, you can do it vegetarian, you can do it with meat, you can do a combination of both, you can change up the cheeses, the vegetables. The possibilities are endless. So we're going to start with a basic one, but like Adriana said, we'll tell you some variations that you can use. Okay, so let's get started. So for mine, it's a roasted vegetable quiche. So we have to roast the vegetables. So we're going to do a bit of chopping. Today I've decided to use mushrooms, onions, zucchini, bell pepper, and a little bit of broccoli. Some other choices that you could add in, you could use little cherry tomatoes, squash, butternut squash would be good in it. What else was I thinking that you could put in? You could do some carrots in there if you wanted. I would just probably pre-cook them a little bit just to soften them, but really the possibilities are endless. This one also uses cheddar cheese in it, but you could switch it up for mozzarella or feta or anything. So have fun. Okay, so we're going to get chopping. And what we need is 2 cups of any type of vegetables.
Zucchini is one of my most favorite vegetables in the world.
Yes.
I absolutely love it.
Yes. Oh, eggplant. That was the other one that I thought you could put in there too.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really have too strong of a taste, and it would take on the taste of the other vegetables.
That would be delicious.
Yeah. But this would be a fun recipe to take the kids grocery shopping and have them pick out their favorite veggie, and then they could put it in this recipe. All right. So remember when you're chopping to tuck those fingers in.
A lot of you have commented to us that you're enjoying when we teach you a knife skill or anything else within the kitchen that you're not quite sure of. So if you want to, go ahead and leave a comment and let us know what kind of other skills you would like to learn within the kitchen. Especially if it's something that you're not sure about doing and you want to see it like very close up. I know a lot of times there's YouTube videos and all that stuff, but we want to make sure that you feel comfortable doing things in the kitchen, and we will try it out first before you do. So just let us know.
We'll be the guinea pigs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm just roughly chopping up the mushrooms. Again, you just don't want big pieces in there, but you do want it to, well, maybe you don't. Maybe you want to hide them in there. I don't know.
It's up to you. My son just finished his snack and he needs me to wipe his hands. Very demanding child.
Cleanliness is good. Okay, so I've got some broccoli florets here. It's not a whole head of broccoli, but you just want bite-sized pieces. So I'm just gonna break them off here rather than chopping. Sometimes it's fun to get the kids to do this too. Got some nice colors going on in the bowl here. Honestly, this is the longest part of this recipe. we'll do some bell pepper. And I went with the orange bell pepper just for some color and some contrast. So remember, this is going to go into kind of the yellow creamy color of eggs. So,
well, and I find that my kids prefer the colored peppers to the green ones, just because I think it's a they call it sweeter flavor, but I don't find it sweet. Like I don't like red peppers personally.
okay,
Just it's too strong of a flavor.
right.
So I tend to go within the orange and yellow range, and green I'll eat them, but I don't love them.
Yes, I agree.
But like red pepper soup and stuff like that, that's not really my flavor profile. My gloves are too big. I can't film.
I wonder if the ones that are easier.
There we go.
Okay, and lastly I'm going to throw a little bit of an onion in there. You don't have to, but roasted onion is really nice flavor profile, so why not?
Now, would you only do a yellow onion, or would you add in a red onion? What are your
You definitely could do a red onion, yes. The grocery store didn't have any red onions yesterday when I was there.
travesty.
I know, I don't know if they were low on their shipments or what, but so we went with what we could find. But definitely a red onion would add a lot of great flavor and some nice color in there as well, so sure.
Okay.
Again, you work with what you got with this recipe. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And almost done.
This would be good just to eat after you roast it. Just eat it.
Absolutely.
That would be delicious.
Yeah, in a salad, that would be great.
Yeah. We're very into in my family roasted vegetables, just because it's easy to throw, half an onion, half a zucchini, half of whatever you have left over from other recipes. Throw them on the pan and roast them.
Absolutely.
It's something that we really enjoy, and it's a good way to introduce vegetables to kids, because it's not the roasting caramelizes them and makes them a little bit sweeter, and so everything just tastes really good, especially if you're using other flavors like olive oil, balsamic vinegar, whatever, Italian seasoning, whatever it is you want to add in there. It just helps the vegetables kind of take on another kind of flavor so that they can be introduced to it.
Exactly. Okay, so we're just going to toss approximately 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm just going to guess here. You just want to coat them so they don't stick to the pan. And then you can just add a little bit of seasoning as well. So we'll just add just a little bit of salt, just to help enhance the flavor, and a little bit of pepper. Oh, my eyes are watering from those onions.
Yeah.
Good one. There we go. So it's all mixed up. So now what we're going to do is take our cookie sheet. You don't need to prep it in any way because the olive oil is already on the vegetables. So we're just going to dump them out here. And we want to spread it out. The oven is already preheated to 400 degrees. And we're just going to roast them for about 15 to 20 minutes. You just want them to be soft and a little bit of color on them if possible. Oh, that's a nice color combination there. And yeah, so just keep checking them and shuffle them around a little bit just so they don't stick to the pan. And then when we come back, we'll be able to assemble the quiche. Okay, so we're back. So our vegetables have roasted, and I've put them out on a plate to cool a little bit because you don't want them hot in your uncooked pie shell. So we've put those there. It works out to about 2 cups, and that's pretty good. I have a pie shell that we bought from the grocery store because I didn't have time to make my own pie shell. So we've got that sitting on a cookie sheet. And what we're going to do is just add those vegetables into the bottom of the pie shell.
Now, if you get intimidated by cooking things because you feel that everything has to be homemade, or I didn't have time to shred the cheese. I didn't have time to chop the vegetables or anything like that. We 100% support you in buying pre-packaged things.
Absolutely.
Because the point of the story is to feed your family and to feed you. And if you can find ways to make it easier for yourself, absolutely, do what you can, especially in today's world where we don't know where you're going to get food or if there's something, like right now, my family loves blackberries. I can't find blackberries anywhere. I don't know why. What, you had a shortage of something you were mentioning earlier. Well, red onions.
Yes.
Who knew that we would run out of red onions in this world? But that's the world we live in.
Or the prices are too high because let's face it, if there is a shortage, it's supply and demand and then the prices go up. So if something is too expensive, by all means substitute it.
Yeah. Well, remember, was it a year or two ago that cauliflower was like $6 a head?
Celery too, yes.
Yeah, right. You know? So you buy it frozen or you just don't use it. No big deal.
Yep. That's the whole point. Okay, so we've got the roasted vegetables in the bottom of an unbaked pie shell. Now what we're going to do is take, see, I bought the pre-shredded stuff because it was on sale. So there we go. Pre-shredded, again, any cheese you want. I got marble because that's what our family likes. You could do cheddar, you could do mozzarella, feta, whatever you like. And this recipe, you want about a cup of the shredded cheese, and you're going to put 2 tablespoons of flour in there and mix it all up. The reason for doing that is so that the cheese doesn't sink to the bottom. The flour helps keep it. I don't know the science behind it, but that's just what we do. So we're just going to toss it around so that every shred gets coated in the flour, and then that goes right on top of your veggies. And just spread it out because we want a nice even layer. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so next what we want, this recipe said you could either use half and half or heavy cream. So I went with the half and half. So you want a cup and a half of the liquid, and then we're going to take our 3 eggs and just put them in there. Thank you. Slosh.
Yeah. You don't know this, but it's hard to crack eggs with gloves on.
It is.
Give it a try. Have some fun.
And again, just like Adriana said, we want to mix it up so that the egg yolks are broken. Now because this is cream, it's not going to be as yellow as milk would be because it's heavier. So, but we just want to make sure that it's all mixed up. And then we're just going to put a little bit of pepper in there. Again, to your family's liking. The recipe calls for about 1/8 of a teaspoon, but you can omit it if you want, or you could add more, completely up to you. And all we're going to do is just pour it over. And it's a good idea to put this on the cookie sheet before you do all of this, because there's nothing worse than trying to move around liquid.
Yes.
So I don't think I'm going to fill it all the way because we don't need it bulging and spilling over, but I think that that is good. We're just going to dunk some of that cheese in there. There we go. Okay, so we're all set to put this in a preheated oven, the 400-degree oven, for about 30 to 45 minutes. The great thing about this is, actually with any quiche, is that you can always double and triple the recipe and then freeze them. So a quick meal. And for this particular one, the instructions actually do show how to freeze it. So you just pop it, at this stage you pop it in the freezer level so that we don't spill that egg until it's frozen, and then you wrap it in foil, and then you've got an easy meal. And also you could take it to neighbors or extended family who are shut in. And then there are instructions at the bottom for reheating from frozen. The great thing about this is you don't need to defrost it or thaw it out. You just throw it in the oven for the 30 to 45 minutes. And the way that you test this one is with a knife just in the center of it. Again, same thing, that it's not jiggly and that the knife comes out clean. So we'll pop that in the oven and we're good to go.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start on the spinach mushroom quiche. Now, I told you before, this is a crustless quiche, and we're going to be using the spinach as our base, as our crust, if you will. And this recipe calls for a couple different cheeses and mushrooms. Now, my husband likes also to have a little bit of meat in the quiche, so we are going to use some deli ham in the quiche. You could use a ham steak if you wanted. If you had leftover ham, you can use anything really you have in the fridge. I happen to have some deli meat, so we'll just call it good.
We're being adaptable.
We are. So we're just going to, there we go, get some olive oil on the pan. Now I like to do pre-cut mushrooms just to make my life a little easier.
Absolutely.
And what I do is while they're cooking with the spatula, I cut them up.
Oh, very smart.
Yeah, so it's easier when they're that size or in the pan heating up to cut them up. So that way, and if you want to leave them whole like this, that's totally fine. Your preference. With the bigger ones, I just like to kind of chop them up a little bit. All that.
So those ones are cremini mushrooms.
These are cremini. You can use whatever you want.
Perfect.
Whatever you can find. There we go. See, just the bigger ones, we just kind of chop them down a little bit.
That's a great thing about cooking is that you can change the recipe. With baking, you have to be a little bit more precise,
Right.
but cooking, you can change it all up.
I have a few recipes that will say to fluff the flour before you make a bread or a cookie because you don't want the flour to be too dense, or to weigh the flour. And sometimes I don't have that kind of time, so I tend to not do those recipes too often because, there's a lot going on there. Mama doesn't have time for everything.
That's right.
So, alrighty. And then we're going to add some garlic to it. I've said this before, I like garlic. I put more than what the recipe says. So, if you would like to, you put as much as you want. This is just what I do.
I love the jars of minced
Yes.
garlic.
So, I usually just do my own garlic. I buy the cloves and I do
Yes.
that. But with the pandemic, I couldn't find any garlic. And so I found this. Ooh. And it's good till February. I'm pretty sure I'm going to use all of it. But this is all I could find. And it has been a game changer for me.
Absolutely.
Usually I'm a purist. All right. So we got those two things. We're going to add the ham at the very end of this sauteing journey because, we're throwing mushrooms around. That's okay. Because it doesn't need to be cooked. It just needs to be kind of warmed up.
Right.
So we're just going to let this cook down a little bit, and we will be right back. Okay, so we've got our mushrooms all cooked up. Now you want to be careful with the mushrooms in this recipe because when you put everything together, if you haven't cooked the mushrooms enough, when they're in the oven cooking, they will release more moisture, and you'll kind of have a soggy bottom in your quiche. So you want to just make sure that they are nice and cooked. Almost starting to get a little bit charred. That just makes them more delicious and not have a lot of moisture. Also, we're going to turn this down. Also, you don't want to add salt immediately to your mushrooms because it will release too much moisture. So when they're cooked a bit down, then you add your salt, whatever your preference is, and pepper. There we go. My husband tends to like a lot more pepper, so we are a peppery family. Who knew? All right, the next step is to add the ham. Again, this is to your preference. This is shredded deli ham, so it's already pretty thin. So I just kind of take it and put it as much or as little as you want. If you had a ham steak, you would cut it up into cubes and cook it in here as well. Really, it just depends on what your preference is. My kids and I like the ham, so I tend to put a lot so we can taste it in there. There we go. A quiche is a little bit like a lasagna, that you can't really mess it up, so everything will come together in the end. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay. And see, so we're just kind of heating it up a little bit. You don't have to worry about cooking it. There we go. Okay, and this is all set to go. We'll go ahead and take it off the heat, and we will start prepping the rest of our quiche. Now we're going to start building our quiche. We have a defrosted bag of chopped spinach. I defrosted it just by, I pulled it out of the freezer this morning, and I ran water over it until it defrosted and it's just kind of been sitting here dripping. But we need to be sure to take out the excess moisture. So we're gonna put it in a towel. Just use an old dish towel. I wouldn't use anything fancy, just in case. But you know, you do what you wanna do. And so see, like even though it's been sitting out for a while, it still has a lot of moisture in it. So what we're gonna do is put it all in here. There we go, okay? And you're gonna wrap it around and wring it. See, all of this would have ended up at the bottom of your quiche and ruined it. Okay, and then we go to the other side and wring it this way. There we go.
Now, could you use like fresh spinach and then saute it? Would that work
You
too?
could, but the amount of spinach that you would have to use would be crazy.
Okay.
And I wouldn't even know how much spinach to tell you to get, because what comes in a frozen little package, like you've seen how spinach sautés.
Yes.
How much spinach, of fresh spinach, would you need for this?
True. Okay.
So you're just gonna put it in your pan or in your quiche dish, and you're just gonna spread it out because this is your crust. It might not look like you have enough, but you do. Just keep pressing it down. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as it kind of gets a general covering, you'll be fine. I also forgot to mention that I prepared this with cooking spray. So you don't want to just put the spinach on the pan without any prep, or else it will stick to your pan.
You'll never get your quiche out.
Never.
Well, you might get the egg part out, but
Yes,
not the
definitely,
spinach.
not the spinach, the good part. All right. See, so it's not perfect, but there's some thicker parts than others, but
So you just have to do it on the bottom. It doesn't need to go
no,
up the
you don't have
sides.
to rise it, no, at all.
Perfect.
That's fine. Good, okay, so now we do our filling.
Okay.
What we do, oh, that's my timer. Okay. What we want to do is get our mushroom, garlic, ham situation here. There we go. Okay. We're going to spread it all evenly to a thin layer. There we go.
That looks delicious.
Doesn't it though?
Just as it is.
Okay. And now we add some feta cheese. Now, when I went to the store, they didn't have feta cheese. They had goat's milk cheese.
Yes.
Totally fine. It gives it a little bit of a different flavor, but it's not going to drastically change anything. So we just add that right on top. See, it's little mini cubes.
Awesome.
And this will just melt in. So it's about 2 ounces that you need for this. So I don't really measure. More cheese in my life is always better. Anyway.
Absolutely.
So just to give it a nice little layer of cheese, you'll be fine. Okay. Our next layer is the egg portion. So what we're going to be doing, here we go. We have 1 cup of milk. We need 4 eggs in here. So I just break all that up. Some quiches will add more milk, less milk, more eggs, less eggs. It just depends on the recipe. Ah, don't let that happen. There we go. I don't think I lost an eggshell in there. I think we'll be okay. Okay, so that's 4 eggs into a cup of milk. Let me just rinse. There we go. And then a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. Now, the original recipe says to have a block of Parmesan cheese.
Right.
And you grate it yourself.
Yes.
I don't have time for that.
Yep.
You use what you have.
That's
so
right.
I had the pre-made one that you put on spaghetti. Life is good. So you mix all that together and you add a little bit of pepper to it, just to your personal preference. There we go. It's looking good. You want to make sure that all the egg yolks break. They can be a little bit tricky in the milk. So you just want to make sure that everything gets mixed in together. There we go. Okay, I like to check the bottom. Make sure all the egg yolks were broken up. Perfect. There we go. Oh, there we go. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, good. And then you just pour it on top.
Couldn't be simpler.
Really not. There we go. You can see it fills it rather nicely.
Awesome.
There we go. And then the kicker, half a cup of mozzarella right on top. There we go. And you just spread it out. Some of the mozzarella will sink. That's okay. Quiche is not meant to be beautiful. It's meant to be delicious. So we don't worry about that. You just kind of spread it out evenly just to make sure that every part has some. But there we go. And that is this quiche all done.
Fantastic.
So we put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. Just depends on the temperature of your oven, if it tends to cook hot or cold. And then you check it when you take it out, make sure it's not jiggly. That's the key. If your quiche is jiggly, it needs a little bit more time. So we're gonna pop this in the oven and see how it goes.
Awesome.
Okay.